Okay, we're gonna start. It's cool. Welcome. What? Your camera doesn't do this?
How many of you have actually seen our work or know of us? Hey,
Well, you can go to my TikTok shop. I got these for sale there. I'm BJ, this is Rochelle, we're also known as Formento Formento. We're a husband and wife team, and been doing this for like 20 years or so.
We specialize in stage photography.
Come on in.
How many of you do stage photography or use models? Stage photography or
Just
models?
Stage photography is kind of like you set something up and you shoot.
So basically you take a model and you set up a scenario and you create a situation. So how many of you are familiar with that? Okay, cool.
Well, we're not going to waste your time. Thank you for everybody for coming. We're going to make every minute count. We're going to talk about our work, our process. Please feel free to ask us questions
At any
anytime.
time when this is running, please put a hand up and we'll pause and talk through what's on the screen.
And then after the talk, we're going to break for a little bit, and then we'll start shooting. And not safe for work, so if you're not comfortable with that, just... Anyways, you should start.
Yeah. Okay. So here we are. Well, as I said, we've been together now some time, I'd say.
I met her on set, and I proposed a month later.
So we're gonna talk about the process. We're gonna talk about how we create. For instance, this is a little behind the scenes shot. See if I can close. Sorry. I thought I could get rid of that.
You go big, babe, I'll talk.
I know.
There we go.
I just don't know how to get rid of that. Well, that just.
Oh, it'll go away.
It's gone. It's only on here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the process and how things can be happy accidents. For instance, this is an Airbnb that started in Verona, Italy. We decided to take a model after doing a workshop, and we saw there was some really gorgeous opportunity of birds outside the window.
This video is just for
This is our rep. This is our agent. This is the kind of thing.
You have big windows across and getting reflections, so you can't see work that clearly.
It's okay.
But as you can see in this size, this turkey just dramatic.
I mean, I tell everybody to like live, work with what's in front of you at the moment, right? No use thinking about the past, no use thinking about the future. And so we had this workshop in Venice, and one of the models, Lulu, we asked her to come to where was this? Verona. And when we checked into the Airbnb, all these birds were just flying. We're like, oh. So Rochelle started throwing bread, and then the next day we were able to capture this picture. And been working with Lulu for a while.
Excuse me, can you turn off the computer while you're watching? I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's turn the
the
sound
top.
down. Do you want the sound off the computer?
Well, if you're talking.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
I can't actually do it through this.
That's
Does it-
okay, love. We'll just
No, I
mute it.
can't mute it. It doesn't mute.
Never mind.
No,
Carry
it would
on.
be nice to mute it. You're absolutely right. Is there anyone that knows the system? No, there's a lady outside. Is she, can you just ask her to come in? I just want to do it because it's a long talk. No, please wait 1 second.
I just want to see.
It
if
doesn't
you can
work.
mute
It
You
doesn't
tried
work, yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be
20
muted.
years.
Wait, because I have talking. Stop. But you're so fast.
I just want to see if you can mute
I know, you can't mute it.
Carry on.
Any luck? Is she there?
We'll figure it out.
It's a computer system, unfortunately. That's controlled. Okay. Anyway, hopefully she'll come. But I just want to just reiterate talking about creating images. So we're going to discuss how we go about doing work, for instance. So we talk about the photography elements. We talk about the things that you find in photography, things like the lines, the shapes, the textures, balance, proportion, putting together storytelling. So here we're basically explaining for you, BJ, this is a kind
Yeah, it's interesting because in hindsight, pause it maybe? No. We had set up that photograph. This is a film set in Canada. And we'll talk a little bit about anecdotes, but please feel free if you have any questions about technical stuff. Because I'm not very technical. You'll see when I shoot, it's just kind of wing everything. But we had rented the set in Canada, and we got about 12 models. And everything was cool 6 months prior to going. And then about a week before showing up, the guy goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, but Amazon Prime just booked the set for 6 months, and you can't come." I'm all like, "Oh no." And so I said, "Listen, let us in on a weekend, and I'll just give you $2,000 on the side." He said, "Okay, come on Saturday, I'll give you the keys." But you were never here. So it all worked out. And then that one shot Richelle was talking about was, it turns out, in hindsight, that it was, well, everything's a self-portrait, right? As a photographer, as an artist, you're always expressing yourself. And it turns out that it was my dad. Can you rewind a little bit? It was my dad who was in the Navy. Okay, here's my. Saying goodbye to my mom and their 6 siblings. But when I was creating the image, I had no idea that that's what it was. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is you kind of go through this process of shooting, and then years and years later, it really has this meaning, deeper meaning. And it tends to be the photographs that people ended up collecting and buying. So I guess it's just trying to really be true to yourself and like I said, just kind of be in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. This is the image you're talking about.
So my dad was in the Navy, and that's how I got to the
That's all your
States.
siblings right there.
Yeah.
This is a project called Hysteria that we spent maybe 2 years shooting on locations. It was a project about America after the 60s and 70s, after JFK, after the race riots. So
It's kind of the height of America, but at the same time, it was spinning out of control.
So we decided to shoot the whole project based on America, shot on film sets that are not in America. There are film sets in Canada and Budapest, and it's the western,
film sets are-
outside view of people's view of America.
Film sets are great because you have full control, right? If I tried to do this in the streets of New York, it would be impossible. Smoke machines and all of that. But I could just speak louder. We spent about 2 years on each project, and we find that working on a project kind of gives us a little bit more direction as opposed to one-offs here and there. It makes the work a little bit more cohesive.
So this is part of Elvis hysteria.
You know how hard it is to find a skinny Elvis?
This is Elvis hysteria, and so he interviewed us because he wanted the vision of Elvis to be very clean. Except he stuck around for the girl shots, which is kind of weird.
Take the mouse off and make it close.
So this just goes to show about when you're trying to produce an image, it's about the things that you include and don't include, or the decisive moment. We put these girls in the car while it was smoking, and actually, you know, it's there's a lot of smoke shots. It's finding the right shot, but we talk about like how to compose things, and a lot of this is about the dynamics. We talk about composition and how you've got negative and positive space, and how it's very centered.
Graphic designer, art director. I just wanted the smoke to
And
kick
then,
ass.
and then opportunity. This is all about opportunity. I mean, you find a car lot in Miami, and you take a model and you give $200 for an hour's work, and that's what we produce. It was just luck that the styling was kind of spot on with the car.
And that build didn't exist. In Miami, they were tearing it down at the time, and all these hotels were being like demolished. And I saw this red straw sticking out of the rubble. And what's that? So I started digging. And it's a 1980s big gulp, which is my.
We're like, don't put it in your mouth. You just pull it from the car.
It was my teenage years, playing video games at 7-Eleven.
It's opportunity, right? It's always about opportunity. And with this, I mean, generally we don't like to shoot models staring straight at the camera. We have this weird thing where we like to be voyeurs in our work, but for this it was just so She's just so intoxicating.
Show of hands for voyeurs.
It's so intoxicating that the eye contact really works in this shot. You know, she's very forthcoming, very powerful. Okay, so let's talk about when you have a bad rain day. Luckily, it stopped raining and the floor looked amazing. But
No, that was a rain machine I booked. Are you kidding me?
This is actually a project that part of Hysteria again, but we were presented the opportunity of working with Photo Vogue, and generally we don't include real fashion in our work because it dates very fast, and we don't really like to do that. We like things to be timeless, but we couldn't turn down the opportunity of working with Vogue Italia. So we had a friend who's a great stylist. He pulled all the most up-to-date fashion, and we did a one-off shoot. And we went back to the car lot that we shot that last picture from and said, hey, we want to do a day in your car lot. So the 200 became 2,000 very quickly. But we had a crew. You know, the one thing about doing certain things with fashion is you get a crew, and you get makeup, and you get hair, and you get all this.
And budget, right? Budget always helps.
Budget really helps. But you've got less control because there's so much to oversee as opposed to a small, question.
The model's eyes look very mannequin-esque.
So, right, so these two girls are actually twin sisters in real life, and you're going to see how this shot's made. But
We also work with mannequins.
we did do a project management agency later. But they are very eerie. The underlighting definitely does something to this shot that makes people think they're not real. But
So I mean, technically, right? It was blue skies. This
But
picture,
that rain gave it this beautiful,
I don't
moody.
think this picture would have made it into the fine art realm if it wasn't for the clouds.
Yeah.
And we don't really do much photoshopping short of taking off pimples or a light stand. Hey Raymond, good to see you. And
So here's your shots before it became the shot. So there's the shot. So
And
we
then
don't really do much. We have our own kind of signature where we take out saturation. We like things to be less saturated.
so lighting wise, you have two lights in the bottom of the bumper, which is why the eyes look so alive. And always focus on the eyes. I mean, nowadays everybody's autofocus.
Be
But
careful with autofocus.
always focus on the eyes. Whatever you're doing, just focus on the eyes, because once the eyes are sharp, nothing else matters. And then there's a kicker on the side and a beauty dish on my crotch.
And the dynamic angle, I mean,
The lighting in the camera is your slave, right? They don't rule you. Whenever I see photographers do this, nothing wrong with it, but you know what I mean? They hold the camera away and they look at the screen. That camera is controlling you, right? The minute you put it up to your eye, you're controlling the camera. You're telling the camera what I want to see.
and
The minute
don't
you kind of do
really
this,
miss if you're not looking through it. There's a lot
just my opinion anyways.
With this, I think you know it's about the dynamic angle. I think that if you do these kinds of angles, it really focuses on the storytelling. It really defines what you're trying to say. Yeah, question.
So when you're working with a publication like Vogue,
Yeah.
how much direction do you have to basically subsume to them? You know, basically say, okay, we'll check your boxes and we're.
Yeah, their boxes are really just fashion orientated. And
It's just the
obviously
latest
It
clothing.
has to be the most up to date, literally the next collection.
But maybe
So-
we're an exception
And
because
then also the nudity factor, they have, you know, you can do your own, but then they want stuff for the publication that has no nudity. Or they have guidelines.
editorially, I think we're a bit of an exception because we started, well, we schlepped, but anyways, before Vogue called us, we already had a fine art kind of
They
career.
already knew what we
So
did.
they were like, listen, do what you do, but just make sure you have a good stylist and that all the
They
clothing are
have
like.
to okay the stylist. So the stylist.
But aside from that, they kind of give you full range.
The stylist we used already worked with them. He was already a stylist for Vogue Italia, but it just so happened to be a friend of ours, which was great. So we knew him anyway. So he knew their standard. Yeah, I mean, going back to that, you know, I think you've got to remember that we're creating for a body of work, right? So at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure
Oh,
This is
turn down the
maybe-
volume on the side. Nice right there. Volume. Oh, it's not.
no, I'm sorry.
Help. We want to turn down the volume.
No, where do you see volume on the side? That's not volume.
Oh, you click on it, then it goes down.
No, the little speaker, right?
Yeah, yeah, click on the speaker. Go for it, mate.
Ah.
It's my mouse.
There you go.
It's my mouse. It's like a 20-year-old. There.
There you go.
So this is the behind the scenes of it.
We always try to do behind the scenes like that, phone there, just because it's how many billions of pictures a day do we see? 6 billion now or something crazy?
And it's always good to look back on. How did I do that?
And so you have social media, which is free, right? So I mean, you use all of this to promote yourself. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I don't really do X, but always have either somebody with a phone, or in this case, you just put it on a tripod and edit, edit, edit. This is the guy who owned the parking lot. We had to get him in the shot
Or was that he wanted to be in the shoot?
in order to get a break.
Luckily, it's a cool looking dude.
Oh, he ends up in jail. He ends up murdering his wife.
Yeah, he's in jail.
He's in jail.
We won't go into that.
Or tried to kill his wife. One of
Anyway,
the
we won't go there. It's Miami, you know. But this is an example. So we have to explain all the fashion for the editorial and have to break it down. So sometimes editorial can be a real drag.
But editorial is a good.
It's a good way of exposure.
It's
right?
all exposure, right?
It's all about getting your work out there.
And also, I mean, in order to shoot for Fendi, you got to have editorial work. And then when you shoot for Fendi, you're making $100,000 a day.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about producing bodies of work. So we always work in book format. Book format is a great way of thinking about how you're going to present work and how images are going to play as a series. We like to work in book format because we always think of what are going to be the strong images, what are going to be the ones that draw you in, what are going to be the ones that work with other images. So
Not only that, I mean, a book is like your best friend, right? You could always revisit your book on your wall whenever you miss that person or you want to be inspired. So we got about 5 books there that is available. And also, it kind of ties in the work. It's the kind of the finale, right? You shoot for 2 years, you show in galleries or whatever, and then you have a book at the end of it that kind of closes that chapter and you're able to move on to the next project. And it's not cheap, but if you get it published abroad, it's a little bit more doable, except you got to order 5,000 books.
500. No, we exaggerate. So then let's talk about, okay, so we produce books and we like the books because we often give them to collectors. So we do art fairs. Art fairs is a big thing for us. We like to get out there and talk to our audience and have the books so people can see what we do. This is one of our booths. This is Art Hamptons this year.
I mean,
we show a collection of work.
I mean, this whole talk is about art and commerce, right? So trying to balance that. One pays for the art, and then the art feeds the commerce, and hopefully
The commerce feeds the art.
hopefully you live the creative life, right? I mean, the most important thing is time. If you don't have time, you're screwed, right? If you have a full-time job, which we all had, then you can't really create work. So try to find that balance between art and commerce, and one way is to do the art fairs.
Okay, this is unfortunately what can happen at art fairs. So
It's not all roses.
It's prepared, yeah, and it flooded. This is last year.
Oh, and it was an act of God, so
We were no one.
the art fair didn't pay for anything.
So prepare yourself to do art fairs. Art fairs are great because you get to be direct with collectors.
And not only that, you keep the whole commission. If you go through a gallery, 50% goes to them.
50% goes to
So what we did over the pandemic is we opened our own gallery. So now we get to represent the work. At the same time, you get to kind of keep.
That's the thing about art fairs. They don't always let you go in as a solo artist. They'll want to know that you're a gallery. So you've got to
Just got to open the gallery.
Find ways around it.
LLC.com.
So yeah, we have our own gallery, and so we do art fairs through a gallery. But you know, again, you want direct to collectors. You find that you get collectors, and then they collect, and then their friends see it, and then you know. So the books are good for that because they'll have it in their house, and someone will see it on their table, and and there's a picture in there my brother really likes. Perfect.
Kind of a glorified business card.
So we also offer to deliver, and we also offer install, which a lot of people don't do, but you save a lot of money. can make a lot of money on the install.
Well, it kind of helps
alone.
close the sale
And
sometimes.
sometimes they're like, if you install it and come to the house, then we'll buy it.
Except for that last picture, the girls on the stairs. Rochelle Googled the house, and it's a $28 million house in the Hamptons.
We were like, we'll deliver it, but we're not putting it on. So we just left it in the house. But the installs are everything to some collectors.
And for them, it's like, you know, a little special
The
touch.
eyes to their house, you know, they love that sometimes. They love having the engagement with you. They love like hearing the stories of how you make the picture.
And you all have insurance, right?
And then you also, right, there's also that liability insurance. But the install is a really nice, touch.
We'll move on to Japan.
We're gonna talk a bit about other work that we do because we don't do everything in America. We like to travel. We like to do. Japan is our like spirit animal. We often roll up things and take them with us like this piece of paper that's a giant wave, and then construct it on site. And we do crazy stuff like that. Rent a car and everything goes into a car, and we'll spend 6 weeks driving around Mount Fuji and just off the cuff finding girls and shooting. I have a huge kimono collection. I collect kimonos whenever I go there. I love to tie them, and we just love shooting.
I think the bottom line is it's passion, right? What excites you?
Right.
I just need an excuse to go to Japan because we love Japan so much. But it doesn't have to be such a big production. It could be here in Philadelphia. What excites you about Philadelphia? And then put a story around it.
We find working with certain models as well, like the model you'll see today, Lexi, we shoot with her a lot. It's nice to have, I guess, find a muse in a way. We talk about this with people, about finding muses. Girls that you trust the collaboration and you really enjoy working together. So you feel like they understand what you do, and it's just, there's a freedom.
And sometimes there's no models.
And that's me, I won't go into that. Can you answer? Question.
On those small shoots like these in Japan, is it just the two of you?
It's just
With
the two of
a
us.
single lamp?
Yeah.
I'm doing
I mean, I got three guys that are helping me today, which is such a luxury because it's always just the two of
Usually
us.
it's just the two of us, and I'll be tying, doing all the makeup, and then helping him with the lights and holding things as well. And even the models get involved sometimes, and bless them, you know. But we rent houses, that's our
Airbnb.
Airbnb, with a view of Mount Fuji. This whole project is based on Mount Fuji. There's a book called 36. We shot just the intention of Mount Fuji.
So instead of staying in a hotel, we'll book an Airbnb that is visually exciting and shooting it as well.
Yeah. So this is all based around the visions of blue. If you ever look into homicide, you use the colour blue. Like we took a lot of elements from that, and then took the elements of what Fuji meant to the Japanese, which was that it's a woman, it's a female god that lives within the mountains. So a lot of it was to do with femininity and
Power.
power and being born from Fuji almost. They see it that way. But let's talk about light actually, because we do use a lot of lights, and this is one of our only natural lit images. This is just daylight, using a hard edge of a door.
No, it's a window.
It's a window, right? Usually we never use natural light, we light everything.
But this is in between shots. Like, oh. And I get to smoke when I take pictures. It's the only time I'm allowed to smoke. So-
This is one of those captures where the light just really worked. I mean, for me, it's like, again, with direct contact, for me, this is like the moon almost. It's like the light, it's like the phases of the moon coming across. It was just something very interesting, yet it's just a portrait.
It's a very iconic image.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
Talking of iconic images. So,
Can I tell a story?
yeah, here.
Right. So, no, it's okay. I'll just.
Can you all hear him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like my dad. My dad was in the Navy, so he's always like screaming at me. So what we do is that we spend a day with a girl, right? We book a model. Either it's trade for print.
Here's the model, and this is where it actually started. So it's nothing like that image.
It's either trade for print or
That's
we pay
kind of
them,
where it
right?
was.
And we found this really lovely river in Kyoto, and I pre-booked the boat. I was going to be on one boat, she was going to be on another, or you guys were going to be on another, and I was going to shoot her on the boat, and we agreed on a price, and then the day of the shoot, I start taking out my lights, and the guy goes, oh, no, that's Hollywood. You need Hollywood pricing, which is not very Japanese. I was surprised, but it's a tourist spot. So then we said, okay, we're just going to shoot on the side.
So we actually shot the picture of her with the boat she saw earlier, and we were like, okay, we're
And this is my lunch.
And then he goes, wait, I have some octopus in my bag.
I've been chewing on
It's just-
octopus all day.
It's missing a couple of legs. And he goes, wait, let's just lay it down. It was almost pitch black at this
And
point.
it's the last shot of the day.
And it was a ring light. I'm like, I'll hold the ring light, let's just shoot the lunch in her mouth.
It was the
Why
last shot.
not, right?
I think we took 20 pictures.
You
And
saw.
so you spent 8 hours with her.
So we shot her in all these locations.
Did you show them?
in
Yeah,
Japan.
here we go.
Bamboo
This is the same
forests.
girl.
This is the same girl. We spent the whole day just dragging her around.
So, I mean, you really don't know what's going to work, right? You just,
They're all
it's the
lovely
process.
shots. They're all really lovely, very pretty shots, but none of them really stand out. So for me, it was the octopus shot that really did it. Yeah.
Did you guys have a plan when you started with her in the day? Like these are the
Yeah.
places we're gonna shoot?
Yeah, we pre-scouted the
We
area.
had pre-scouted the area and thought, okay, we can take it to the bamboo forest, that's doable. We can take it to this. We were actually staying in a temple doing a retreat, and the monk there said, you're welcome to shoot here. So we shot around the temple, and we just spent the day.
I mean,
Very organic.
It's a very loose concept. It's a love letter to Japan,
This
basically.
series is a love letter. to
Right? So it's
Japan.
all Japanese women, it's all kimono.
It's all kimono.
It's all with the old wigs, swords.
some of it, yeah.
And this is a funny story. We had booked this Airbnb, and for one reason or another, the model canceled on us the day before. And Japanese people never cancel
We were like,
unless you're
what
on
are we
your
gonna
deathbed.
do?
They will not
Pay
cancel
for
on
this
you.
place, yeah.
And so we went straight to Instagram, and I just put in
Just put in tattooed girl.
tattooed woman Japanese.
And found a girl on Instagram, and I messaged her. I did Google Translate, messaged her, and she responded back instantly. And she happened to be
Jumped on a
a
train.
dancer in Tokyo.
No, she's a masseuse for the Yakuza.
Oh, okay. And it was the most bizarre story. She didn't really speak any English.
But she liked to drink.
She did like
and
to
smoke.
drink. And she had the most amazing tattoos.
Sweet,
And-
sweet girl.
And it turned out she worked for the Yakuza, and so this was not her first rodeo. She was so down. I'm like, this girl's way too into this. She does know, she's had rope time, and the rope guy that we use is a native Tokyo guy. He's actually
And he'd be
New
mad
Zealander.
if he saw his face.
He does
Because I think he's a banker.
He's a banker, he's a hedge funder, and he cannot be seen.
So if
basically.
they found out his like little
We
sideline.
find all these cool people and just bring people together. This was a last minute thing. And we really wanted to show Shibari the art of role play, and
Which we're gonna do today.
which we're going to do today in a little demonstration. But she was totally down. I mean, he had a clamp in her mouth that was huge to put the octopus thing in.
Whenever we arrive to Japan, I go to the grocery store and I buy a bucket of octopus, which is like $50. It's so cheap. And then we kind of just eat it and travel with
We
it.
dice it and have it as a little like side dish.
This is another funny story, right? So we booked this studio.
It was
and-
actually a rental for shooting.
Yeah, it's a photo studio. And I found the most famous porn star in Japan.
Yeah.
And so we start doing the shoot, but I think they had cameras everywhere because they came up to us like halfway through the day
Halfway through the
and
shoot.
showed a picture of all the shoes at the
They
door.
said basically you're only allowed 10 people in here.
But they counted 12
We
pairs of
counted
shoes
12 pairs of shoes.
because somebody
which
delivered
means
the costume. And they kicked us out. But I think it's
It said
because,
you had to leave in like 10 minutes.
But I
we
think
were
it's
in the middle of tying and hanging.
because I think they saw what we were
I think
doing.
they knew what we were doing, and they were like, we don't want this here.
Japanese are funny people. They're really, really, really straight. Isn't any Japanese here? They're really, really straight, but at 5 o'clock, when it's happy hour, it's party time.
But you know, you just have to respect there's certain rules that we just had no idea, right? Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I read that Japanese people don't like to photograph pubic hair, or how did you get around that? That's
So,
what I read.
Well, I gotta
There's an
tell
issue
you, we were
with
unaware,
pubic hair.
we were actually unaware that it was illegal to photograph people nude.
In
the street.
public.
In public. We had no idea we were doing it.
Like 3 trips later, something, my assistant
Someone
goes,
told us.
if you get caught shooting nudes in public, you're banned from going back for 7 years.
They'll ban you. We were like, oh.
So again, like 9 to 5, they're the most conservative, but after 5 o'clock, it's,
You know, there's always hidden sides to any culture that you don't always understand as a visitor. And you just, it's great to work with local people. Of course, in hindsight, they told us 2 years in, it's a bit late.
This is another funny story, because again, we spent 8 hours with her, with, what's her name? Cora. And
Shooting all day with her.
we had a Japanese makeup
We had a
artist.
makeup artist who happened to turn around and say, you do know I can.
Wait. So Richelle buys the brush from Chinatown in New York, and the last shot of the day was we were just gonna have her splashed with ink, because then she could shower and go home. And the makeup artist goes,
I can do calligraphy. I've done 12 years of calligraphy.
So
Why
she
don't
banged
we
it
let
out
you
in 10
write
minutes.
something on her body? We were like, oh, that's so cool. Because I have a blessing that I picked up this morning from the temple. It's about, it was all about how life is impermanent and how there's no end and no beginning. It was actually really beautiful.
Kind of the Buddhist
She let me write
cycle
this
of life.
Sanskrit on her. So this was the shot.
And she
Very
put our
in-
logo
in the
over her
corner of our
heart.
room with our beds right in the front there. It looked so kind of quiet that it's actually our room.
And I shot 20 pictures, and then one picture, the beauty dish didn't pop.
So it's dark over her face, and that was a mistake.
That wasn't planned.
This is fully lit.
If you look at the film, it's all fully lit, of course, because,
We lit to see everything.
and one picture, the beauty dish didn't pop, and that becomes a work of art.
And the darkness of it, and just her body became the. So it's always the happy accidents, right?
And Richelle's brush from Chinatown.
So this became a great exhibition in Fahey Klein Gallery in Los Angeles. This is one of our first.
Are you familiar with Fahey Klein?
Many of you know who they are. It's a really great gallery, yeah. in
Fahey
Los
Klein
Angeles.
has got to be the most prestigious gallery in America. David's been around for 30 years.
He represents some of the top photographers. I mean, I think you can see a classic in the back there,
Herb Ritz.
Herb Ritz. Yeah, he's got an amazing.
2 years prior, we walked into the gallery, and
Always dreaming.
it's like starving artists. You're always like, oh my
Always go
God,
there, always
someday
one day.
I'll show it Fahey Klein, right?
Yeah.
And he was so nice. David goes, come into my office, showed us books, and then 2 years later, we showed him the Japan pictures, and he signed us. I mean,
We had a show there, and it was like, oh, wow, how cool. We walked in here 2 years ago. Yes.
So did you have books before that, or?
So, yeah, we had.
no,
Yeah,
2013?
No, that's not true. So we had a book published through a gallery in Paris, an American project, which you'll see. And a rep approached us to do a commercial job in New York. From this book, she found us. She's like, who knows us? And they pulled a picture from the book, and they basically said, we want this for our hair commercial. It's a Japanese hair brand. So we shot this commercial job for a Japanese hair brand, and that person became our rep, a New York person. And she then knew David Fahey, who then, she says, you have to check these eyes out, they're really cool. So she was the introduction to Fahey Klein. But it was a commercial job. Yes, Raymond?
What size are your prints?
What size? They're 40 by 60 inches.
So we do 4 sizes, 20 by 30 edition of 8, 30 by 45 edition of 12, 40 by 60 edition of 7, 60 by 90 edition of 3.
Question in the back?
What's your rationale for that sizing?
It's just the dimension of the Canon.
It's just
It's the full frame of the Canon.
The full frame, and also there are kind of sizes that a lot of people work with. You know, and we love bigger the better, obviously, because the more
Well,
it costs
I
to
mean,
buy
I mean,
But
the camera is your slave, right? You run that fucking thing, not you. So you can make it any size you want.
But I just have to say that it depends on, like, we obviously sell large format in places like Miami, places where people have space. And those-
Hamptons.
The Hamptons. And then those smaller pictures like 20, 30, 45, New York, apartments.
Tokyo.
Tokyo, you know.
And also the price is lower.
Question?
Do you have a preference on like what paper you like to print on?
Paper.
What?
Yes, what paper you use.
Oh, you gotta buy me a drink.
Burrito?
I mean, there's so much out there, right? I started photography in 1979. So I tell all my students or workshops to like, learn how to develop black and white film, learn how to print black and white pictures. That way there's purity to your art, as opposed to, it's so digital now, right? So it's so easy to just like, shoot. Go back a little bit. And so Canson Burrito is the closest that I found to silver gelatin prints.
We've done a lot of testing. We've also, our pictures are very dark, so we find that sometimes it will,
It's very forgiving, dark pictures.
Yeah, well,
all your
no,
mistakes.
it's also a bit of a nightmare actually, because it will mark easily. So we did a lot of testing as to what will like last, what has longevity when it gets rolled and handled and things like that. But also, you want to see the highs and the lows in a picture and the depth. So
Yeah,
when
you want to
something-
see
you want
detail
a
of the
really good
shadow.
printer, you don't want it to look muddy, okay? Because your pictures can look muddy. You want to show depth. So we found that we went through a series of tests, satin print to show like pop, to give pop to the light, we love matte pictures, but they just don't give that depth.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're printing extra and extra large,
Yeah.
do you do any upscaling to your files?
No.
It's so impressive, you know.
I mean,
I've been shooting with Canon, which I think is, I don't know, 25 megapixels. I'm not sure, 50 maybe. I'm not sure. I really don't know technical
it's
stuff.
100 now, Wills.
No, it's not. It's a piece of shit. But I'm waiting for that
Well, listen, we do 16-bit. We do like make sure that we have a lot of color profile in the file. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not that technical, honestly.
No, but I'm waiting for that new Hasselblad. It's 150 megapixel.
Yeah.
13,000, I think, for the body. I'm waiting for that.
So going back to the
But no, the Canon blows up 60/90, no problem.
Yeah.
And I think the more like nuance of print, the fuzziness or the noise.
Also, it's the lighting. We do a lot of lighting, and that really gives definition. Like a lot of people are like, wow.
Well, there's a sweet spot to every lens, right? So you find your sweet spot and you dial in your strobe to make sure that you're at f11 or f16 or whatever. And that also adds clarity to your file, right?
So I'm going to just show you a little bit about the American work. Going back
Yeah,
to
'cause I don't know how much time I
how
have
we were
left.
found by a commercial client. It was through this body work. Spent 2 years in Milan.
So
traveling across
we
the
found
world.
this place in Salton Sea, shot all day. On the way home, the sun was setting. I see at the side of my eye that RV. So I'm all like, all right, get out, let's shoot really quick. And as soon as the light popped, 2 dudes came out with guns. We shot
It
them.
was a meth lab. We were totally unaware.
Pre-Breaking Bad. They're like,
We were
what the
like-
fuck?
I'm like, Tiana, put your dress on.
Everybody in the car.
But like, yeah, so we would just travel, we did our R&D. For instance, this is a young model, 14. Thank you
We
for
booked her.
art. We booked her, and for the shoot, and she goes, can my niece come? And so luck was have it, the niece was really cute. I'm like, you ever modeled before? So you'll see, here's the niece. I threw a wig on her, she's adorable. So she became part of the series. And this was all about
This is a movie set in LA.
Great movie set in LA. They do a lot of commercials there. We decided to take them down.
It's called 4 Aces.
And we were just trying to show Americana at the time, living in 2008, 2 years out of our old
Well, the phone stopped ringing in 2008. You guys weren't even born yet. We had no work. We were living in Brooklyn. And we decided, you know what, we have a little bit of money saved up. We bought an Airstream in 1969 in Oregon. I've never pulled an Airstream before. We didn't have a car to pull
Talk
it.
about out of the comfort zone.
We had 2 Siamese cats that gave birth.
We had 5 kittens.
So now we had 7 cats traveling with us. We show up to buy the Airstream and the guy goes, the guy goes, I don't know if I can.
There's no work. So we're like, we're just going to live in an RV.
So we lived in the Airstream, gas was $5 a gallon in 2008.
First time to travel.
And then we just, since there was no work, commercial work, we just did what we wanted to do.
We just thought, well, we'll just get jobs on the road. Go to
No
LA.
jobs.
Well,
We just
there wasn't, but
we
were
just kind of
doing-
shot what we
were
wanted to
doing-
shoot.
We were doing little odd jobs here and there.
No, my point was, this was just
Yeah,
something that was super personal to us.
yeah.
I didn't grow up in America.
I
She didn't
definitely
grow up in
didn't grow up
America.
here.
So
I
my
just-
vision of
romantic
America
idea of America
was white picket fence, the
Yeah.
Wild West. What was your idea of America?
commercialization.
Right.
Everyone looks to America and is like, wow, what you can do, the things you can do. But then the idea of the nostalgia of America, like we don't have any of the nostalgia you guys have. Even though we're the oldest, one of the oldest, like, you know.
Well, your
people
nostalgia
so
is like
Our
beheadings.
nostalgia is like kings and queens, but this is so cool, yeah.
So from 2008 to 2010, we did about 8 cross countries from Brooklyn to LA, and shot about how many models?
130 women we shot. There's a book, you'll see a book in a bit. But like we really wanted to grow cinematically in our work. Like for us it was new to have a fine art career.
And I was shooting Craigslist, you name it.
He was doing anything.
Bar mitzvahs,
Craigslist,
weddings.
Like, hey, we got this job and we'll piggyback, you know. But I just wanted to create something really cinematic. So it was all about
And ironically, it was
Crutzen was a huge inspiration to us.
Ironically, it was the personal work from the recession that got us a book published in Paris,
Yeah.
and then a New York agent discovered the book.
Question.
Yeah, how much scouting do you guys do before you go to your shoot
So,
location? And then
at
also,
this
sorry,
point,
I'm saying also, how often do you reuse a location?
okay, so you're
A
going to
lot.
see right now. We literally scout like this. We would not even see the locations until we arrived. We would just drive to the next town, talk to the girl, and say, "What do you know?" She'd go, "Oh, I have a cool."
Where did you have your first kiss? Like
Yeah,
important
like
stuff
this.
to the model.
We woke up in the morning. Were staying literally up the road in an RV park. When we drove down, we were like, "Oh," and he goes, "Babe, you're gonna have to stand in." So, so it's all like back of my head in those previous shots.
I mean,
We
this.
never knew until sometimes we arrived.
But this trip was controlled by the girls. What town did we have access to? And it was when Model Mayhem first came out. You guys familiar with Model Mayhem? 2008. It was like a website where wannabe models and makeup artists and photographers kind of like, you were able to contact them. So we're like, all right, we're going to drive through PA, we're going to drive through Texas. And so wherever the models were is kind of where we were. And then you start to Google what's cool in that area.
You know. But talking of revisiting, so that location, the 4 Aces space, we had been offered to do a commercial job, and this is a version of it from that picture. This is a commercial job that we shot it. So this is the same model you saw in the motel shop, but we used to.
So this was a commission by Chocolat Rouge.
So basically they're an advertising agency. They wanted to showcase how it could showcase branding. So you're going to see sunglasses, you're going to see jeans, you're going to see all these things that we wouldn't normally
And sadly, there's really no fine art market for it. Is there? Any pictures
It's
on that?
available. No, I wouldn't use any of these pictures for my fine art portfolio. Because they're just too staged and they're just too dated.
Well, it's just advertising.
It's advertising. I kind of cringe when I look at these pictures, I'll be honest with you, because I just find
Because the location is so good and you're
so
like, oh.
contrived. Yeah.
With the exception of the studio sets where
Yeah.
I'm assuming you pay to be there
Hmm.
and you book it, do you just, most of it, you just walk up to the location and hope that nobody says, get out of here, you can't be here?
Sometimes, and we get chased off, sometimes.
A lady came down, we were shooting an old caboose. Where was that? LA? The desert somewhere in California?
She came running down on her truck.
There was this old caboose, and we're like, oh, it'd be a great shot. So
I
we,
thought the caboose was owned by no one.
It's like falling apart.
Yeah, it was hers.
and then she came, you just see dust coming down off the hill.
She's like, okay, I'm watching Oprah. You got 20 minutes. If I come back and you're still here, you're gonna make it.
When Oprah's done and you're still here.
We're like, moving on.
But yeah, there's a lot of guerrilla shooting.
This
A lot.
is a field set, so obviously you had to be there. Yes.
So when someone like that comes down and sort
Oh, diffuse.
Sweet talk, sweet talk, sweet talk.
My best
of, do you
friend
ever
said-
like,
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, be careful with the money because sometimes they get offended. They get offended. It's like, this is my personal space. Shouldn't you just buy your way onto my land? Like, you got to be
I think
careful
you just
with those
read the
ones.
situation, right? You read it. If they're like, shotgun,
Usually
get the
it's
fuck out of
the
here,
front
then you
office, you
leave.
speak in the
But if
best
they're like,
accent.
if I come back and
Sorry,
Oprah's done,
you know.
then, so you just kind of like read the situation, but always
This
just,
is what I mean by, you know, it's so commercial looking.
just always be respectful and just say, we're just artists. This is not for any job, which is not really. It's just personal
It's
work.
not personal work, yeah.
And, you know, always have $20 here and
You
there.
never know, right? You just got to be ready for the
In
situation.
Cuba, that was, we'll show Cuba in a minute.
So yeah, so this is translation of like fine art to something that's a little bit more commercial, using the same location, same model. You know, it's like a Levi ad, it's like a hair brand, or it's
you think, this is for fine art, I'm shooting this for fine art, what do you think?
What do I think?
What do you think about when you think this is fine art? We go into the shoot knowing what it is for a start, because you come with styling or you come with crew.
Well, I guess it's really more, what do you want to say? What do I want to say with this body of work,
But
right?
there are times when we'll be shooting a commercial client, and you'll see it in a minute, and I'll get a fine art picture out of it. So I didn't even know I was there to create fine art. I just happened to create something.
Well, it's
I'm
like,
that's
what is
fine
art to you, right? Art to somebody else could be like like a Brillo box from Andy Warhol. You know what I mean? It's just like your state of mind is, what do I want to say? And how do I get that message across?
And it's your signature, so you know the kind of thing you create that you accidentally create during the job.
It's such a fine line.
It is a fine
Oh,
line.
speaking of
Yeah.
Cuba.
What are your arrangements with the models look like then?
So it's always been the same. It's always been about a model release. We've always had a model release. We always work in trade or payment. I don't expect anyone to work for free. And if they really want a good portfolio and they're open to trade, that's great. But otherwise, I pay them. And we're very forthcoming with that. We know what we do. We know we sell pictures. This is where it's going to go. So for us, it's very much like clear and transparent. Whereas in the early days, you never knew where they were going to go, but you always got the model release. Because you don't want that to come back and bite you in the arse. You don't want to, the situation. So,
And we've had situations.
and we've had situations back in the early days. I'm like, that's never going to happen.
And nowadays you can do it digitally. You don't even need a piece of paper.
Being able to sell that image or
Right.
make money on that.
There's an
That's-
app for
This is
that.
what I do for a living. So you've got to be clear.
Well, Rochelle's British, so she can go to Cuba. I'm American.
Oh, so this is Cuba. We were like, we want to go somewhere we've never been after doing America.
Pause.
We're like, okay, what's American but not American? Cuba.
This
Because
was after circumstance.
this was right after doing the American work for 2 years in the RV. We're like, I want to go somewhere I've never been, take myself out of my comfort zone and visit somewhere I've never been. So we went to Cuba.
Show up at customs with all our
We
lights,
realized
right?
it's
And
very
this was
hard.
like back in the day of 7B, where it's like a
You're
car
not supposed
battery.
to shoot there. You're not supposed to work there, right?
And they held us for 3 hours.
In customs. What's all this? I'm wearing the model's clothing. I'm like, it's just my stuff.
And she always wears black.
I'm always dressed like not a model, like clothing. I'm
So now
always
you got
dressed
like all this
in this
vintage
picture.
clothes. Well, it's a communist country and they want full control, right? No one's allowed to make money without the government knowing about it.
We had to get a production company to work in Cuba.
Yeah.
We had to email beforehand and say we want to shoot. and-
Both for location, both for models.
So they said, okay, we're going to get a model company for you, that you have to go through the model company, and you have to work with them, and we're going to do all this legit. But what we didn't realize, we're going to find out, is there was a guy with us who was helping us, and he actually worked for the government. We didn't know.
He was a total spy.
He was what they call an agent.
KGB.
I don't know what they really call it.
But he had access
He
to
had
everything.
access to everyone.
It's like, hey, can we go on that
We
balcony?
would be
He
like,
would just
"Can we
wave.
Go across the road to that house, and they'd
And
see
he'll let us
him,
in.
And they'd be like, "Oh, you can come in," because they knew him.
Oh, so
We're like,
young.
"Him." That guy right there, we didn't realise who he was. So he was sent to help us and watch us.
And watches at the same time.
And watch us. And actually, that crew got arrested on our second trip.
Well,
He took us back to our Airbnb,
well, wait.
and they all got arrested.
One of the models wanted to do nude photography.
Yeah. She
And
was
we're like,
very
oh,
like,
twist
I
my
wanna do-
arm, right?
Yeah. Cool, okay.
And so we did some nudes. Her mom happened to be
Her
a
mother
government.
was a TV presenter. No, her mother was a TV presenter.
Oh, okay.
She was very well.
She was up in,
She was very well known.
and the
so-
mom saw her phone of
Mom
her
saw
pictures
her
nude.
phone.
So
Yeah.
then the mom called her friend in government and put an APB out on us.
So
And
we
just said,
happened
if
to
you
be shooting that
see this
day.
Asian guy and this British woman,
Right.
arrest them on the spot. So I downloaded all my
So we
cards.
had everything on cards.
On, like, 5
we went back
cards.
to the hotel that night, back to the Airbnb.
And I put the cards where the sun doesn't shine.
Basically, the next morning, the person in production came back to us in the morning and said,
Said-
"You can't leave today. Don't go out. They're looking for you." We all got arrested last night. We spent hours in
The Cuban crew.
the Cuban crew, and basically told them it was a quinceañera. We lied. We said whatever.
So we
got
get to the
released.
airport and the flight's delayed. And we're like,
What's going on?
on?
They're looking for us.
They're like, we don't know. Why the flight's delayed? So I start drinking Cuba Libres. I drinking rum. You were drinking back in the day.
But they just say.
And we almost missed our
amazing.
flight.
Cuba's amazing, but you got to be careful with Cuba.
Oh, it's a time capsule.
It's absolutely beautiful, and the girls are incredible, and there's a creative spirit there. It's just incredible.
Maybe Trump will open the cruise ship again.
We'd love to go back to Cuba, but we've had some hairy times. We've gone 3 times now, and it's always touch and go. But it's a great place to shoot. Now, talking of great places to shoot, India. So after that little taste, we were like, oh, let's go to India. Let's go really extreme.
2015?
Right? Yeah. And I'm going to do the whole thing, proper Indian culture saris and Indian culture.
So wherever we go, it's always, if
It's a lot
Japan,
there.
it's Japanese women.
Always-
If it's India, it's Indian women.
impetus
Cuban women.
is to keep it completely, I try to stay away from fashion because I find that fashion's a big problem.
Well, it's not so much a problem,
It's not
but
art.
it just dates the
It
work,
dates it, yeah. So
as
I wanted-
opposed to something timeless.
Right, so we wanted to showcase culture.
So we hired a funeral band,
Yeah.
and this is about fixed marriage. So the story behind it was like, she's going to drown herself because she doesn't want to marry this guy, and the wedding's going on.
So basically, we went to Juhu Beach to shoot it. Little did we know, this girl was Miss India back in the day. They all recognized her. And it kind of got out of control.
There was like 500 people
Before
in 10
we knew
minutes.
it, we had all these people on the beach started pushing us into the ocean.
I lost
Really
Rochelle.
scary, yeah. So he ended up
They
jumping
started walking
on a
the
boat.
car.
We ended up jumping on a boat. We got on a boat, and you're going to see. And he actually ended up having to go on a boat with the model and the crew and go out to the ocean.
So she
this
never
is what it was
drowned.
looking like. We were getting pushed further and further, so we ended up going out on the boat. And I just stood on the beach filming it because I'm like, okay.
We looked at the police, and the police goes,
The police just looked at us. I'm like, this is going to get into a
He's
really
all, "Come
bad
back, come back."
situation. Yeah, and so they went out on a boat and did a sunset shot, and then when we got back, we had to run to the car. They climbed on the car, they were rocking the
They were
car,
rocking
the model
the
was
car.
screaming. It was just so scary. But we
So
had a
this-
beautiful shot.
so the guy in the back is holding a strobe, so I could strobe the dude in the water, and then I had a beauty dish here, and the sun was setting. And we found the elephant.
So they had a festival a couple of days before, and they were throwing all the Ganesh out to the ocean, so these were washing up, which was kind of cool. So we picked the Ganesh up off the beach and took it out on the boat. Well, I was collecting them. I was like, this is so cool. Look at all these broken, like,
Elephant
on the
arms.
floor, all these, like, so I have that at home. It's like something that washed up on the beach.
What time does this wrap? 11:45.
45.
Okay.
So, okay, now I'm going to talk
So the
about
pandemic
memories.
hits.
Yes.
This is 2020.
Quick question, so when you do the Cuba trip or the India trip, how long are you there?
So the Cuba trip, we were there for like 3 weeks each time, and we went 3 times in a year. In Japan, we were there for 6 weeks each time, and we went twice in a year. And we went over 4 years. But it depends. Projects are never finished until they're finished.
Well, the cats are getting old, so we haven't
We had-
traveled
we
since the
had a hard time,
pandemic.
yeah.
But we try to do at least 4 weeks because it takes about a week to get over jet lag, right? And then, but you do a lot of pre-prepping prior to
This is
going.
working with sex dolls.
Right. So
during
wait a
the
minute.
pandemic-
Back it up. So when the
dolls
pandemic
excited,
hit,
right?
we're like, there's no girls, right? Well, I don't know what you guys did for the pandemic, but you couldn't even leave your house. You were like wiping down your mail. And so we reached out to a sex doll company in the UK.
Yeah. And we started filming sets in our house.
And so they
Like,
sent
what
us
we
5
did-
sex dolls.
It was just me and him and a bunch of dolls. And we did this crazy idea, this crazy project.
And at first when you
of
walk
isolation.
downstairs, you're like, oh, excuse me, and then, but you got used to them.
Yeah, but it's like working with still life. It's such a hard thing to do.
And you didn't have to feed them?
But you know, you have to even do the tiniest movement on them, like they don't move. It's like working at the table, you know, trying to make them look alive.
So it was a great study in lighting.
It was a very interesting time for us. We just spent time together.
It's called Rubber Soul,
Yeah.
because I'm a Beatles fan.
It was
But
their
it
best
was an
album.
interesting project.
Pardon?
So it was their best album.
Yeah, it was their best album.
Wicked.
But you know,
Ah, talk about that,
in
Rochelle.
hindsight, it's so weird. I look back and I'm like, wow, that really does talk about the pandemic. Everything's covered in plastic and you're stuck inside and you're yearning to leave. And like in hindsight now, I'm like, yeah, that picture has a lot of messages, but
Right.
I was just putting together
I went
an
crazy.
homage to Hopper. Is it Hopper?
Yeah, so, well, no, this is,
Who's the person
Christina.
The classic painting of the girl crawling to
What's
the
the name of
house.
the artist?
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's my kind of homage.
your ideas you pull from your dreams, your nightmares, art, paintings, movies, music, right? You use all of that to express yourself. And so the wheel's not invented. I mean, the wheel has been invented. There's nothing new in photography after 100 years. So you
They're
just,
so lifelike,
you just
by the way.
really try.
They even had like creases.
We had to buy one of those machines that you could move people from
They're
bed to,
really heavy.
because they're so
You turn
heavy.
on skeletons all metal.
But the
I-
rubbers, after a while, they start to degrade, so we brought it to the
So
dumps.
this is a real girl and then a doll. And you can just leave them out. But talking of commercial clients, so when we talk about fine art, this is a commercial job for a film studio in Italy. They wanted us to make a short film and some stills to advertise what they showcase. So we went to a studio, we went and
Trade.
rented-
It was all trade.
It was all trade, and we got to get these great costumes and to create.
And the smoking unpaid for our
But,
house.
but this became a fine art image that kind of went everywhere. But it was never meant to be a fine art image.
It was Fellini's studio, where Fellini made all his classic films in Rome.
So we never, yeah, this basically became a big image for us, but we didn't go with the intention to create fine art.
So now we make
So
skateboard
now we
dads.
kind of, for people that can't buy art, we try to get it out there, the images, you know, like why not, you know. You want someone to say, I've seen that image. So-
And then Glitterati, which is a big publisher in New York, reached out to us and said, we'd love to publish your book, but you have to pay 50% of the cost.
So now.
And then you get $1 for every book you sell. And well, screw that, we'll publish our own book.
But this is a book that was published by the Gallery of Paris.
This is the 2008 book.
This was the big book that was published that the rep found us through. Basically said, would you do an advertising job, and that was the launch for us. So we did have one huge article published, and
So these are editorial work.
editorial work that we do, try to get the work out there. This is a great project. They approached us, a French magazine, and said, we do one special edition a year, which will be an artist this year. And the year before was Urban Ola. We were like,
Art edition.
yes. So they flew us to Paris to do 2 days.
They cover all the
focusing on
expenses.
Surrealism, shot in the most prestigious. Basically, this house was owned by the patron of Dali and Picasso
And Man Ray.
and Man Ray. And so they wanted us to do an homage to surrealism in our style, and it was featured in that.
It was like the top stylist, the top makeup artist, the top models.
Amazing fashion. I mean, it's all fashion. I mean, but we had a great crew, and you name it, I had it. Like, I want this chair, I want that clothing, I want, you know. She's like, you got it, you got it. I'm like, God, if life is only like this always. I didn't really get paid. We didn't really get paid for it, but we got flow, we got to create.
So I mean, again, the balance, right? You try to make them happy because they're the client.
And then there's models in this shoot that sont in her. That's the girl with the
The
half
smoke
moon,
coming out of the nose.
So she gets paid and she comes from Belgium to come and work with us, you know. And the girl Lulu, the girl with the birds,
She's in this
she's
too.
in this as well. Like, we kind of put our models back on, we've got a big job. You know? And you get to go in a magazine and they're like, that's huge in Paris. Oh my God, everyone's going to sit. And so it's payback, right? We'll get to come back and work together.
That's
So we
triple
always
B.
try to include all the time all the people we work with. And that's how we create a lovely family, you know? So yeah.
It's such a dance, right? Because if you have a client, i.e. editorial or commercial, you got to please them. They come first, right? You do
Right.
everything to like tick their boxes, and then
I mean,
you
they're
get to
selling-
do your crazy
They're
stuff.
selling tables and they're selling chairs and they're selling the most recent. Yeah, who was that fashion? That was so beautiful, that clothing.
Target?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Schiaparelli. It's all
Oh, Schiaparelli, yeah.
It's beautiful, yeah. Such amazing fashion. But yeah, so you get these great moments where you go, oh, wasn't that lovely?
And then you're just always trying to get something for yourself, right?
You're trying to balance the commerce and the art, really.
You're selling the chair.
You're still trying to show that it's
So
you.
this was a chair ad for them, and then
Yeah.
we thought, how can we make the chair a little bit more exciting?
So we painted a face in true surreal fashion on the body of a girl. So you're always trying to, so I made a lot of props and flew with them. Like, I still have this lobster on the telephone, and I created lots of stuff to bring with me. client. So you've got to remember that you are working with someone who's expecting something. It's not just on your dime. It's not just on you, right? You're like, oh, what if I do this? Wait, but will that work for them? You know, they're going to be happy with that. Yeah.
So to that point, are you able to pull some fine art photography?
So, yeah, actually, one of these images did sell when we showed it at Miami. We showed it. It's Lulu with the head thing. So some of these do work in fine art, actually, these images.
So you make a deal that you
So,
own.
Oh, you always
Oh,
own.
I always make a deal. I'm like, listen.
No. You always own the work,
You
even though
always
it's
make
commissioned.
sure you own the work.
You have
So,
the copy. They get to use it for an issue or two,
they
and
get
then
to use
online.
it for editorial.
But it's yours, and then you get releases on
And
everybody.
actually, he got to have one of each print in a 40/60.
Right, he used
We
it to
did it with
raise.
him. He used it
His
to
wife
raise-
had cancer, so it
He
was
used it for a cancer research, they were
Profit
raising money,
raising.
profit raising. So he basically had one of each print as well. Yes.
Yeah, so going back to the idea we are in a less controlled environment, like in the West, and what you own and what you don't. We're
Yeah.
talking about model release, but what about like the RV that you photograph that belongs to someone?
That's my RV.
Sorry.
Which
But I
one?
mean, you could always get,
Fee or whatever.
you could always get property release if
You-
it's,
you,
if it's,
you also can download property releases. So for instance, you know when we shot like in the gas station, there was a location, I had him sign a property release. I have a property release, so I get property releases too. But if I'm out in the street and I shoot against a car, like in Cuba, I paid the guy $5 for the goats in the car.
no, $5 to have the girl stand next to the car.
Oh,
And then when we saw the goats, I'm like, can I get the girl inside the car?
Cuba,
That's
we
another
also got
$5.
releases. I bring paper releases.
But I mean, just know your rights as a photographer, right? If you shoot on the street,
There's a standard release you
right?
can download.
That's,
Yeah? Make sure you always get.
and it's always changing. But I think if you're on the street, then they can't stop you, or you, I don't know. But if it's,
If it's a public space, I guess.
Right.
It's within reason, right? You just never know what's public and what's private until you leave. Yeah.
The publication,
Yeah.
how do you vet whether it's a scam or whether it's
Yeah, that's always a good question. I usually don't do a publication unless I know someone that's done it. You know?
well, there's so much stuff online now.
yeah.
We try to stay away from that. We always like to get print, because then you know it's a little bit legit. There's also print on demand, which is still kind of iffy, because they just want content so they can
They
sell
just want
ads,
content.
right? So the person making that print on demand digital magazine,
I'll never give out big files.
so
Nice
yeah,
big files.
I guess you just do research.
They're always PDFs.
Research if there's some existing issues, reach out to the photographer. How was your experience with X magazine? And they'll say, oh, they're bastards or they're good.
Yeah. So this is some of our commercial work, just to show kind of how
Yeah.
we balance it. Yeah.
I wanted to hear the rest of what you had to say about how you distribute files.
Oh,
Distribute files.
Files.
You said something about PDF and then.
So you know, sometimes I make a PDF and do smallest file size, so it's like for web print or whatever, like make it really small so they can view the images. There's no way they could get anything off of it, right? It's a PDF made as a PDF presentation, so they have to view it really small in an order, like it's not a file you can drag off. I try everything I can, and even watermarking. You just don't want files out there for people to just use and sell. So I do PDFs and then sometimes I watermark.
And then when you actually send them to the client, when you give them to the client to use.
Yeah, they're still.
well, you have them sign a release, a contract, saying that no third-party usage, right? This is just for this issue. If you're going to give them web presence, then you give them web presence, and just protect yourself that way. If you do see it, and you know it's going to be printed on a T-shirt in China eventually.
We've had stuff stolen and there's
So,
nothing much you can do about it.
Go back a little bit, babe. We have like 15 minutes.
So I just wanted to show you some of the stuff we do that still pays for our art. Earlier you were seeing some of our commercial work. We do a lot of work for Sony Music. We do album covers.
Well, we got lost in Miami for 3 years.
We went and moved to Miami for like 3 years. And
I don't know why.
ended up for Sony Music, which was great. We got to
But working with record labels is great, right? If portrait is your thing, if you could like just get your foot in with any independent record label or Sony or anybody big, they're such great people to work for, because A, they got budget, and B,
And then
you're
you
working
get-
with like these amazing
You get
artists.
exposure, right? All they do, like for instance, this is a saxophonist, a jazz saxophonist who worked with David Bowie, and he has like, you suddenly tap into all their audience.
But I think if there is budget still in the commercial world, it is the record industry.
Yeah, music industry.
I don't think the artists are making any money,
No.
but
You're
but
getting
they
paid
still
through-
need
through their management.
art to promote the work.
Yeah.
And then you get a relationship with Gloria Estefan. We did her latest album cover, and then Gloria's daughter now is an artist. So then you just have this relationship going directly with the artist.
Right.
And this is for Sony Music. This is Emmylou Harris, and we just really crashed their concert and said we would take free pictures.
Suzanne Vega, it's like, we'll take your portrait backstage.
We'll set up in the back. We'll take your
And
pictures
you
for
can use it for
free.
your own marketing purpose. And they're like, sure, why not? It's not going to
And
cost
then
you
they
anything.
call you for their next album.
And then you never know, they're like, I really like working with that person, you know. So
This is a free shoot.
This is a free shoot, because I totally designed his CD, and I made that suit. Did it all
That's
for free.
Tony
Because
Visconti,
he's a
which is
producer. He
which
just-
is David Bowie's.
He did all of David Bowie's career. I'm a huge Bowie fan, so I was like, I want to work with Tony. And then he still produces now. He's done Diana Krall, Elvis Costello. So you do those things because you hope something might come out of it. So those are free jobs.
Well, you just hope they
Free
blow
jobs.
up like Killer Star.
So-
We did this last week.
This was last week. This is like a bunch of like musicians.
So there's technically the way we set it up
Sorry, it's so bad what we're seeing on the screen. So.
is that there was 12 in the group, 3, 6, 9, or 9 in the group. So what we did is we set them up in threes, just same backdrop, that one.
So,
And then we
same
just
backdrop, and we
stitched
just
it
put
all together
together.
in Photoshop.
Yeah, I can't get it. So
Yeah, it's okay.
hard to get. But this is just an ongoing project. When I say like projects are never finished, this is called
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. So we're producing right now, just always adding to it.
So anything nostalgic, we kind of make it big umbrella. That way you're not kind of cornered into like just shooting a certain thing. So anything nostalgic to me or Richelle or to the model.
Or like locations that people, you know, like the President's Heads, for instance, is a really great location. There's sometimes places that you really want to shoot, you go there and you shoot it, and you kind of go, yeah, okay, so I went there and I shot it. Not always great shots, but
Yeah, great shots.
one picture might come out of it, you know.
And then this is the most recent
And then
project.
this is the new project, which we're going to be shooting today. We are about to embark on another RV trip come spring. We're going down to Miami for 5 weeks this winter.
Showing at
We're going to
Scope
be
Art.
showing at Scope Art.
Any questions about art fairs? Because that's a good way to make money.
Yeah.
Sir,
I do them on a small scale, and I'd love to.
Like affordable art fair, like, yeah. We've
they're
done
great.
that one.
They should change the name Affordable Art Fair because
It's not
it's
truly
really good
affordable.
art fair.
You can have any price at that fair, actually.
Mm-hmm. They're super affordable. You can get a small booth for like $3,000-$4,000, and you're there for 3 or 4 days. And all you really got to do is sell a couple of pieces, or in this case, sell a bunch of books.
The books are great, you should make good money on books. People
Yes.
always afford the
Where did you
pictures.
find the art fairs you guys put in pictures?
We don't like to go far because you got to schlep all the work.
You've got to schlep
Like
it.
a directory?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah.
Google art fairs.
Just Google art fairs and put in a town, wherever you want to do it.
They even do like, in New York they do Washington Square Art Fair, which is like,
There's some that you can pay $500 and have like a
A
booth on the
booth.
street.
yes.
You said you have a gallery, is that a physical gallery
No.
or?
No. Bricks and mortars, big outlay. It's
Keep
just
your-
online.
Keep your overhead low.
Yeah.
Uh,
you can
Pay off your mortgage. Don't use credit cards.
no, use credit cards for points and miles and hotels. That's
No,
what
I
we
mean,
do.
again, it's balance, right? You're balancing to get time in order to create your work.
So you basically, you just have a company that's a gallery?
It's a,
Yeah,
we have a
it's
website
all
for the
online
gallery.
presence.
Okay.
It's an online presence.
But it's our house, so people can come and look at work if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're profiting off of your work, how do you go about, like, let's say you're selling a portrait of a model.
Mm.
Now does anything go to that model, or is it just strictly you?
No, because they've already been paid. But with saying that, we recently gave money to someone. Who was it? We were like, oh my god. She
So
had been paid, and I just
you have an
Not so
understanding.
much, you know?
You have the understanding with the model, right? Either I'm going to give you all the files, retouched or not retouched. You could use it forever you want for your 8 hours with us, or I'm going to give you $500 for all your time with us. Sign a model release, and that's the end of it. Now, if you sell a picture for $28,000 and you're feeling generous, you know, send her on a trip somewhere. And it tends to be those people that you work with all the time that kind of give you.
Like I think it was the girl in the back. I think it was Martina, the girl in the back of the car. You know, like an extra 500 to use.
And they called us to shoot her wedding.
And she goes,
We shot her wedding for free.
Can you come be a witness and shoot the wedding? I'm like, sure.
Yes, sir.
So when you say you give them all the files, so you can
Yes.
do whatever you want with them, what if they turn around and sell it? Are you gonna be pissed off at that
Well,
point?
Well, they're
It's
JPEGs, first of
understandable.
all. I don't give them the RAWs.
Okay.
Yeah, they're only joking.
And I guess you could make the agreement
They
like
could.
this is for
They
your
could,
portfolio only.
Yeah, I would
Again,
break it-
no
I would
third party
break it
rights.
down, but quite honestly, you're gonna see
That third party right is where you can get
Are you
screwed.
gonna see him at an art fair selling prints? Probably not.
It could happen.
I never
Sure.
thought like that, but yeah, you kind of come to an understanding with them. You try to make that clear, you know, that you're making a
Hey,
profit.
Kine. What's up?
That you're making a profit from them and that, you know, the aim's there for them, basically.
We got like 10 minutes for questions, so please. I told you it could have gone
Yeah.
longer.
I know there are like usage restrictions on the prints that we sell to whoever the end user, publication, whatever. But does the model release also contain stipulations like that?
You can, some of them do. I mean, you can always add anything you want to it.
Right.
What's the question?
Is there any other stipulations? I mean, you can take a basic
No, I
release
mean,
and-
they're basically, the basic model release is saying all their errors and.
Right. But whatever you choose to do with it is up to you. But the model is pretty much separated from after the shoot.
Yeah, it's there for them, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and they can do what they want with the image in terms of self-promotion,
Right.
but no garnering of sales.
And the same thing applies to like clothing. I mean, you guys are photographers, you know what I mean? They need you. Reach out to any clothing on Instagram. Say, hey, I'll take your pictures of your clothes. Hello.
Yeah, please. Yeah, question there. Yeah.
They'll send you stuff for free, and then you shoot it, tag them.
1 second.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
How are you thinking about your free work nowadays? So, like, you're having success. Do you look at it like, all right, we're not doing free work anymore, or are you,
We still do free work. I mean,
are you using intuition to like
yeah.
say where?
We only work with established people now. I don't like winging.
Well,
I don't take
the problem with
chances.
this one is she says no
I
to
say
a
no
lot of
to
work.
everything because my time is too precious.
And I grew up without running water, so I'm like, yes, 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 we're shooting, but I forget there's two of us.
Well,
So I
you
gotta
know,
respect her
it's a lot
time.
of time. You don't want to go into something knowing you're going to put in a lot of precious time, work, and energy, and not get anything from it. But then you never know, so you're like, well, what point do I say no? You've got to do your research and go, that's really not worth it. You know? Or that person has enough that I might be able to get something from it. Yeah.
I know you said that you kind of throw a lot of your stuff together on location and it turns out awesome. But your work also reminds me of someone who has a little bit of the opposite process. I don't know if you ever heard of Owinston Link and the Norfolk and Western Project, where
The trains.
yeah, where he would have these like really drawn out plans where he
So
spent like
he's storyboarding.
yeah.
Literally like a film set.
Amazing work.
Yeah, and
So
I'm
underrated.
just wondering if you ever had done anything like that where you like
Oh,
planned
absolutely.
it out.
Absolutely.
When we do client work, I spend months.
Or even just today. I mean, you pull from Pinterest and all of this,
I'm always pulling, I'm always thinking
and then making it your own.
how I can.
I have a lot of
put this.
sketches, like I know what I want to do. We're lucky because there's two of us, art director, photographer. So there's two brains and two sets of eyes working.
He does his shots and I do my
Yeah.
shots.
But I mean,
Sometimes.
the internet is amazing for that reason, right? You could like, okay, what do I want to do? Then you just put in that keyword, and you get all this really cool inspiration. And and it doesn't even matter if you copy it. It doesn't matter because from you copying that work,
You're going to do something unique.
something's going to come out that's yours.
Everything comes from somewhere.
Like when we did the 2008 circumstance, we had no fine art career, but we love Crutzen, and we love Tarantino, and we love Hopper, and we love Hitchcock.
So you're always inspired.
And so that was
There's
like kind of
nothing-
our
like
sketchbook.
the plagiarism thing is bullshit. It's like, be inspired. Be inspired. There's nothing wrong with being inspired. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Any other, yeah.
If you're putting all your stuff on, like, say, Instagram, for example, people say, oh, do you have an Instagram page? And when you say no, they're like, what? So is it dangerous to do that?
To put it on
Yeah,
Instagram or
because
dangerous
anybody
not to
can
have?
just take it and sell
They
them.
do.
Oh, they
Duplicate
do.
them.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
That's it.
We've had pictures from people, like in another part of the world, going, your image is for sale here, look. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, in China or...
They do. And I don't think in this world of, World Wide Web that there's no way to control that. Because the smallest, screen grab
But
can
a
be.
true collector wants to know who, they want to deal with the artist, they want proper like science.
Right, so let's talk about that, right? Because we have a limited edition of work that is signed with a hologram sticker.
We also
So-
sell through Yellow Corner, which is a mass-produced market of, basically, it's not open edition, it's still edition, but it's not signed.
There's a lot of them. There's Lumas, there's YK, there's SOLDN. I mean, there's a lot of, I call them Class D galleries.
Like that nun picture,
Which
where
it's
through
like-
Yellow Corner.
It's like
basically-
it's a step up from IKEA stuff.
But they become so known, the image, that then someone goes, I know your work, right? You're almost
Right.
infamous
I mean,
at that point, right? You're
And
like,
then you just work out a contract with them. I mean, because it's going to be stolen.
but then
anyway.
eventually, that image becomes completely sold out of there, right? And you've bought your house with that image, right? And it's sold out. And then the fine art, they start coming to you and they go, but so-and-so bought it for $4,000 in the Yellow Corner. And you go, that was like 4 years ago, good luck.
And it's not signed.
And it's not signed. And they go, so
Your
how do I
signature is
get it?
everything.
And you
Your
go,
signature
"You
is
have to
everything,
come to
right?
me and
But
get
they
the
could probably
version."
fake your signature too. But we're not going to go into that.
There's many
It-
ways it can go, but the point is, there's only so
It's such a
many
great
ways.
life, right? Having the creative life is like amazing. Everybody here, congratulations. You're living the creative life, right? You're trying to leave a mark. There's power in photography, there's power in art, and use that power to leave a legacy, leave your mark. Either you pay it forward. We have Formento Foundation. We help all these people in Philippines, where I come from, where I teach photography for free. So use that power and try to live that creative life, because it's the only life we have.
Like, it's not necessarily going to be that you have like an instant career as a fine artist and you're going to sell all these prints, right? That's what Yellow Corner started for us. We basically had a book published through them, then they started selling our prints, and we weren't really known.
And then we were able to use that money to create more work. It's
and
time.
Then
You
they
need the
become,
time
then
to
they
work.
become visibly known, those images, and then people go, who are these people? And then you start getting
Like,
known.
we're doing a burlesque show tonight, and her budget was $2,000. I'm like, we'll do it. We're in Philadelphia anyways. And so we're just going to set up a little studio and do portraits of them. I mean, and that money will now pay
I love a burlesque show.
the gas for the Airstream when we pull in.
And then that money goes towards our RV park when we go to Miami and shoot some art, Yeah.
A lot off topic, but how did you guys meet?
That's a nice story.
Interesting couple.
So,
and how is it working together? 'Cause
you're going to see.
my-
So the model you're going to see today, she stayed with us last night. We actually got some quality time together chatting. We work with her a lot. And she always jokes, she goes, she was talking in the car today, going, well, we're going to see some stuff, right? Like, and we know it's not real. We know, like, you guys love each other at the end of the day. And I always think, when we're in the moment and we're shooting, it's like, you bark at each other or whatever it is. And then afterwards we kiss and go, yay! It's nothing personal, it's not art. He shot, my shot, all we know is we want to create.
Did you ask the question how we met?
How we met.
Oh, okay. So this is a great story.
So I was an art director
In London.
In London for a company.
And I was
Never been to America.
working for a stock company in
Usually
New York.
Stock. I was working for stock companies, aren't I?
And this is when digital just happened. And so photographers were still photographers, you know what I mean? Because
Still developing film.
it was still film. And after a year, I told the New York office, listen, I sure would like to work with a different art director because I've been using the same art directors in New York. And then a week later, they said, well, Richelle's coming to Miami. You want to work with
Someone
her?
got pregnant in my office and they said, would you like to take her place and do this trip to Miami? I always went to Cape Town. I was like, oh, well, I guess I could bring my Cape Town crew. So I was going to bring my crew from Cape Town. I had a crew. And they said, no, there's this guy in the New York office who wants to work with you. I'm like, nah.
So she gave me the shittiest jobs. She gave me jobs and kids with like earphones. And we're in Miami, right? And it's like kids with earphones, dentists. I'm like, oh man. Office work. And then the first night, I took her to a karaoke place. And I sang my eldest song. The second night, I took her salsa dancing. She goes, oh, you could dance. Night 3, I moved into her hotel room. Day 3, I'm shooting Bikini Girls on South Beach.
I'm like, okay. And I go back to London and he goes back to New York and I'm like, oh yeah, that's
Thought it was a fling.
And actually my boss back in the New York office was like, you know, it's not cool. You don't do that. You're his boss, you know. And I'm like, whatever, you know.
And I was 40, you know. I mean, I had 3 kids, I had divorces, so life starts. I'd rather peak late than peak early, I guess. So there's always hope, right?
2 weeks in Miami, and I go back to London, and I realize, man,
I'm in love.
I love this guy. So I call him up and go, come to London.
So I sublet my Brooklyn apartment, moved to
2
London.
weeks of knowing each other. I moved out of my house. I owned a place with somebody. I moved out and just walked away. Moved in with him. And suddenly he's in the London office, and they're like, what's BJ, the photographer, doing in the London office? I'm like, we're together.
20 years, 1 cell phone. 20 years, 1 cell phone.
So we met in January. I took him to Cape Town for a job in March. He proposes. We get married in April. And that was it. And
20 years later.
Since then. Yeah. Question.
When Tokyo tomorrow, where's the place that you love to shoot?
In Tokyo?
Everywhere.
Man, where is not to shoot Tokyo?
Everywhere.
I love it. I'm a sucker for a temple. Any temple with a juxtaposition of like a vending machine on the corner. I love how mixing things that don't work together.
I'm a sucker for the porn stars.
Well, there's that too. The performers. We love the performers.
Anyways, we're going to shoot in 15 minutes. There's books there. You're welcome to look at it. Online, they're like $80 today. They're half off, $40, signed. We have playing cards. We got prints, and we have our business cards, so you can reach out on Instagram. Any questions whatsoever, we're open book. Yes, PayPal, everything. And we'll be doing the book signing after the shoot. We'll be here for a couple of hours, like for something.
Yeah, after the shoot, we'll hang
Remember, the power of photography is yours. Thank you, everybody.
Oh,